maybe we can start with a soft start. We want to introduce mentors pool a little bit, and then uh, we can introduce the co-presenters today.
Sure. Thank you so much, Chirantan. Thank you all. Welcome to the webinar we have today for Step to Build a Career in Agile and Scrum. So I hope you'll enjoy the session. This is Ankit. I'm from Mentor School. I take care of training delivery, career consultation, all those here in Mentor School. So, Chirantan, we have a great journey together, and we do organize these sessions to help, lot of people who are trying to build career in IT sector and want to, you know, uh, get something out of it. So that's, the agenda is to help people understanding, the right thing, what they can choose in their career, and wherever they are from. So that's the main agenda. So hope you will like this session. And at Mentor School, actually, we help people with the career guidance. I know people are working in the IT sector and they're working in two, three, four technologies, but we have thousands of rest technologies where people are not aware of. So our main goal is to make people understand what is right for them. Okay, let's say you are a SQL developer, what are the options you have? Rest in the world might be some of them you will not be aware of. Let's say you are a data scientist and what are the things you can do. Let's say you are a project manager and what are the things you have in a plate but maybe you are not aware of. So we help people understanding what they are doing or identifying their right skill and then choose the right path so that they can do something great in their career. So that's all from my side for now. So I'll hand over the session to Chirantan. He'll proceed further with the session. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ankit, for those warm welcoming words. So, hi everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you are. I know that this is a cross-continental coverage. So, first of all, thanks for taking time out on a Saturday. I see quite a few of the industry practitioners, quite a few agile gurus also in this session. So thanks for taking time out. I think the most important objective that we have from this fireside chat is to have an educational awareness about agile. What are the different frameworks? What are the different scaling models, etc. And a little bit, we will talk a little bit about our journeys as well. So I'm quite fortunate to share the platform with Sandeep, who's a great friend of mine. He's an astute project manager and an impeccable business analyst, and I think a lovely person to share thoughts with. Right, so I think our association goes back a little bit in time, and we would want to share a little bit from our own career journeys as well, in case this benefits any of you. Right. So with that, Sandeep, you want to start the presentation, talk a little bit about yourself as well.
Yes, Chirantan, just please let me know when you can see my screen.
Yeah, can
Is
see.
Is it visible
Yeah,
now?
can see. It is visible.
Okay, brilliant. So hi everybody. I'm Sandeep. I'm a senior BA, having 18 years of IT and business analyst experience, and I have been working with Chirantan on and off on various projects earlier as well. We've been using each other as a soundboard time to time, discussing various projects we normally go through without disclosing our clients and helping each other that way. So I have been in the industry um, as a stakeholder, as a business analyst. I wore different hats. I have uh, worked in different startups as a mentor as well, apart from the big enterprises I've helped. And I have been I have been investing in startups in the past, and I'm a uh, big on agile and lean canvas, and going very lean with the approach. And recently, I have acquired a SAFe agile, POPM certification as well. So I think that is a brief introduction about me, and I'll hand it over to Chirantan to share some of his industry experience.
Yeah,
Chirantan,
thank you so
can you
much.
hear me?
Thanks so much, Sandeep. So,
Yep.
little bit about myself. Yeah, maybe we can just go to the next slide. So I have a little over 17 years of experience doing different stuff. So I've been playing the role of a project manager. I have started my journey as a business analyst, as a domain business analyst, but then I have kind of played the roles of an IT business analyst as well. I've been a testing lead, I've kind of done project management. My most recent roles, couple of roles, is that of a product manager. So I was managing multiple product owners in my team, and which is why we will kind of hear a little bit about what product owners do, what are the role of scrum masters, etc., for the people who are uninitiated in this webinar. But I've been quite fortunate to play the role of a product manager across a particular region. So we kind of broke it down in different regions. For Asia Pacific, I was the product manager. And then very recently, I have, while I am an accountant, okay, by profession, I am an accountant, but I play the role of a program manager in front office technology, right? Very recently moved to UK, but most of my experience has been in India. I have kind of been training on Agile, I think, since 9+ years now. And I have kind of, dabbled in different roles within Agile as well. Now, in terms of domains, in terms of different organizations, various organizations, I won't name all of the organizations, but quite a few investment banks have been associated with, like JP Morgan, Nomura, and Citi. And in terms of domain, as you see, that I've worked in regulatory reporting. I've been a risk analyst in market risk as well as in credit risk. I've dabbled my hand in liquidity risk, led large scale accounting, IT, and middle office operations projects and programs. Right. So this is something that we've done, and as you see, something that you might find this quite lucrative, right? So we, myself and Sandeep, have come up with this one-pager CV, right? So when you get, after this webinar, when we share details with you, this will be in a PowerPoint form, and you can immediately start making your own profile if this appeals to you, and you can start using this, right? So people come to the webinar to take away certain things from that, and we are starting our first delivery right from the first slide. Okay. All right. Now, a little bit about Sandeep. If you go to the next slide, as to why Agile is, almost, if you don't know Agile, you are getting displaced, right? In terms of what makes Agile so much in demand. Now, these are some of the snippets, and all of this comes from the sources of PMI. So, as you guys know, Project Management Institute is the gold standard for project management, based out of USA. And these are salary surveys, some of the snippets from there. We give you the source as well for our information, right? So we don't hold back anything. Full transparency is one of our mottos here. Now, if you look at it, if you are an Agile practitioner, you all of a sudden, if you have done your certification in PMI ACP, which is Agile Certified Practitioner, you can see that there is a steep rise in salary that you get. Right now, in terms of jobs and in terms of demand, Agile is booming, right? So this is one particular skill set or one particular area where people it's like the buzzword in the industry, right? So I have seen different roles of Agile being played out in teams. That of a Scrum Master, you can see in the bottom of the slide. What are these kind of salaries that you can expect in the US or in UK, for that matter, for Scrum Masters, right? So Scrum Masters who are usually only aware about Scrum. Then there are Scrum Masters who are also aware about DevOps. Now, DevOps is also a myth, or it's a jargon that we are going to demystify as we go along in this webinar. But you can definitely compare and contrast what are the different median salaries, right? Now, these are median salaries. I can tell you for sure. In global teams that I've seen, just for a Scrum Master, it can range and go up to even 140, 160,000 US dollars. Even for product owners or product managers, it can go up to between anywhere between 115 to 170,000 US dollars is quite achievable, right? And because there's a large part of the population who are attending from India, I can tell you for sure, we've got agile scrum masters, agile practitioners, certified practitioners, etc., who are definitely getting a median salary of 24 to 38, 39 lakhs, right? So this is just on the basis of agile skills. But if you complement that with domain knowledge, right, then your salary hits through the roof, right? So I think this is something that I'm going to talk about later as well, that what do we complement agile skills with. So what if we've got an agile certification under our belt? Does that automatically mean that we are entitled to demand a certain salary bracket in the industry? Maybe, may not be. Okay, so we're going to demystify that as we go along. But I think this is the right place to be, right? So if you are not agile, or if you are agile, there is a very steep career graph that you kind of see. And in our chat we will figure out what are the different options after you've been practicing as an agile person for about 5 years, 10 years. Let's say you've got 15 plus years of agile experience. Where do you see your career going, right? So there will be snippets of that information being shared. Sandeep, anything you want to add from your perspective?
No, Chirantan, I think you've been spot on actually on this. And now you've spoken about your profile, Chirantan. I think it seems that you have a mark in agile fraternity. I mean, is there a secret mantra you would like to share it with us, please?
Yeah, I don't think there is a one size fits all kind of a mantra in agile, or even in general in life. But from my experience, I've tried to put together a slide. So if you go to that slide, which I've kind of put through, there are a few
Yeah.
things which I think are skill sets. So I like to call it the seven commandments to agility, and these are success criteria. But please note, this is not a comprehensive list or an exhaustive list as such. These are only things which I think has helped me in my career so far, right? So right from and getting into the business analyst role about 15, 16 years back, when I reflect on the journey, these are the commandments which have pioneered and shaped the career that I am here today. And there is a long way to go. You can definitely not be complacent about anything, so you keep learning, right? I mean, when anyone asks me, Chirantan, what's your real role in the industry, I tell them that I'm a student practitioner, right? I don't know whether you've heard this term earlier, but I am a practitioner definitely for agile, but I'm also a student, because you keep learning. The day you say that you know everything, that day your true learning stops, right? So first one is simplicity. I mean, in agile you would have heard about this term quite often. Simplicity means the art of maximizing work not done, which means avoid the unnecessary, right? Focus
Hmm.
on essential work and learn to say no. I think this is a very, very important thing that people don't really talk about. Don't say no to clients, no to their dev team leads, right? But it is also important that we are not uh, brought into that spiral of business development and marketing, right? So if you feel that it cannot be done, most importantly, say no, right?
Yeah.
The next commandment is ambidextrity. So on this one, I just wanted to kind of spend a couple of minutes on what do I mean by that term. So ambidextrous people are people who can work with both the hands. Now please don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that I work with both the hands, or I want all of you to start working with both your hands. But what I'm trying to tell here is the industry is very recently favoring dual skills, right, on dual roles. Now,
True.
we definitely have to be aware about which is our dominant skill, right? Now, let's say our dominant skill is project management, right? Guys, sorry, if you are not speaking, can you please go on mute? Hey, Ankit, can you just make sure, please, that people are not speaking on mute? Thank you so much. Right. Now, if let's say project management is a dominant skill, do you also become a business analyst, or can you play the role of a business analyst when needed? But that's what is valued in the industry. And there could be different combinations, right? Then you could be a developer slash a BA. You could be a BA come a tester. And I'm sure that there are questions here that if I am a tester, can I become an agile business analyst, or what does it take to become an agile product owner from the testing background, right? And you can also become a PM and a dev kind of person, right? The third commandment here is communication. I cannot overemphasize the importance of communication. It's really really important. You have to motivate and coach your skills coach your teams to earn their true potential, right? I think communication plays a very very important factor, and there is no communication style which is one size again fits all, right? So you really need to know what to communicate, who to communicate with, and how to communicate that, right? So depending on the seniority of the audience, you should kind of switch your styles and ensure that communication is a very important factor, and have reflective improvement, right? So over the years you build on your communication skills, so it's not necessary that you are a great orator right on day one, but when you kind of go through your journey, you kind of build on these skills, right? So communication is really important.
Brilliant.
Okay, now a couple of other ones: organization and decision making. I think there is no secret in this. I think whether you're a business analyst, whether you're an agile practitioner, there is a very important emphasis on getting organized, right? And organization starts at home, right? So how you organize your day starts at home. Organization starts right from when you get up from your bed, right? And decision making as well. It's not easy with so many projects. And if you look at the state of agile, the 15th state of agile 2021 report that we'll be sharing with you, you would see that agile adoption has gone up to 80%, right? So in the industry, and there are 1380 respondents who have actually participated in that survey, with different sizes of organizations, some employing less than 1,000 people, some employing more than 20,000 people. So these organizations have voted, and they said that 80% of the projects that we are doing today are agile, right? So decision making becomes a key component there, right? You have to be both aware about your internal environment as well as your external environment. Now, what do we mean by that, right? So internal means, what are the team dynamics, right? So first and most important environment are your team, right? So your Scrum team or the team that the dev team, you need to know them very well, right? The second thing is outside the team, people who are influencers, people who are really getting involved in the decision making, anyone who is impacted by or impacts the outcome of the project, right? That's very important, right? It could be suppliers, it could be vendors, etc. But quick decision making is going to be key, right? Adaptability is very very important, in order to accept change, identify and reduce ambiguity and risk, and also adaptability in the way in which your career is shaping up, right? I think, Sandeep, there has been times when I've been asked a question in the interview that, Chirantan, it seems that you know a lot. Have you failed? Have you
Yeah.
failed, or are there instances where you have said no to a role? And I can tell you,
Yeah.
I have. Right? I mean, every year has not been consistently good. I mean, I'll be lying if I say that every year is consistently good all the time. But being adaptable to adaptable situations, adaptable projects, adaptable roles is going to be key. It should not be comfortable in any role for too long. So please challenge your own status quo.
Yeah. I 100% agree, Chirantan. I think just to add on,
Yeah.
it happens, I think, with everybody, happens to me as well, when there are moments when you are not doing so well, and then you try to find out, you try to reverse engineering the whole thing, the whole situation, and try to find what are you lacking, what you can you add to your profile or to your knowledge, which can actually help you to grow further. So like again an example like the safety certification, which I've finished recently, because I've been dealing with big teams, with my recent projects, and I was struggling with them a little bit, and hence I thought I should upgrade my skills and go to the next level of agile. And I think you said it very rightly, that we have to keep on challenging ourselves, so that we don't get into that situation. I think sorry,
Hey,
can
Ankit,
everybody mute themselves, please? Is that okay with you?
can you please mute everyone, Ankit, once?
Okay, thank you. because I was hearing this loud background noise. Apologize, guys. So I think, and the other thing is, with these points, I'm big on the communication as well. Communication is the key to everything, to all the relationships, within your team and outside your team, with all the stakeholders. I think. Sorry, I'm getting that noise again. So if we have the right, if we
There's someone called Pallavi. I think her this thing is going on mute again and again.
Okay, I'm just checking. You can proceed,
Yeah, so,
Shandeep.
sorry, guys. So yeah, communication once again, it's very, very crucial. I think it's a basic necessity of a human being. Forget about our role. It's plays a very key role in handling our lives on daily basis. Apart from these things, like, we have to be a bit more emotionally intelligent as well. If someone says no to us, or situations doesn't favor us, so we should not just shout, or start getting into that negativity. We should On the other hand, we should start looking for solution and try to find someone who has more experience than us, and then think, like, in my network, who has more experience, who can help me to come out of this situation. And I think take that route rather than getting frustrated and pulling your hair out, because I have been there and I've learned it hard way as well. So I think that's a practice I follow. And thank you, Chirantan, for highlighting all these key points to us. So, Chirantan, for the people who are uninitiated, what is the role of a product owner? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think I have been playing the role of a product owner and a product manager for some time, and I would rather want people to understand this through a video, if that's fine, right? Because I think people sooner or later would get bored with whatever we are talking. Okay, so they would want to hear another person, another video. So maybe can we just play that video on product ownership?
Yeah, I think I tried to downloaded these videos, Chirantan, but I think there is some issue with the downloads.
That's
So I'll
okay,
try
no
to
problem.
play with the from the YouTube only, guys. Please bear with me.
Sure.
So we are in this thing together now. We are a team. So just bear with me. Let me.
Great to know that, Sandeep and Chirantan.
No, as far as we have each other's back, isn't it, Kavita? You know how it is.
Yeah. Actually, and in fact, it was like, yeah, great.
Yeah, thank you. So I'll try to I'll play this video. Please let me know if you guys can hear this.
But she knows why we're building the product, or what this can solve, and for who. She talks about it all the time. Here are the stakeholders. They're the people who are going to use and support, or in any way be affected by the system being developed. Pat's vision is that these people here will love our system and use it all the time and tell their friends about it. The stakeholder needs and Pat's ideas are expressed as user stories here. For example, if this was a flight booking system, people need to be able to search for a flight. Maybe that would be one story. Both ideas. Now, here they are, a small, co-located, cross-functional, self-organizing development team. Since this is an agile team, they don't save up for a big bang release at the end. Instead, they release early and often. So that is their capacity. Capacity is easy to measure, just release per week. Some stories count as 2, some are small and count as a half, but all in all, it adds up to about 4 to 6 stories per week. Some people call these story points, but I'm just going to call them stories per week. In order to maintain this pace and not get bogged down by manual regression testing, the team invests heavily in automated testing and continuous integration. So every story has at least one automated acceptance test at the feature level, and most of the code has automated unit tests. The problem is, here are a bunch of stakeholders asking for all kinds of stuff, and they sure aren't going to be limited to 4 to 6 ideas per week. They have lots of ideas and lots of wishes, and every time we deliver something to them, they'll get even more ideas and ask for even more stuff. So what happens if we try to please them, try to do everything they ask for? We'll get overflow. Suppose the team starts working on 10 new stories per week. If the input is 10 and the output is 4 to 6, the team will get overloaded. That will cause multitasking, demotivation, and all kinds of bad stuff. And ultimately, it'll lower output and lower quality. It's a lose-lose proposition. It's kind of like trying to shove more paper into a printer to make it print faster, or shoving more cars onto an already crammed highway. It just doesn't work. It just makes things worse. So what do we do about this? Well, the Scrum and XP way of avoiding this problem is called yesterday's. We finished 4 to 6 features per week. So which 4 to 6 features shall we build this week? And the product owner's job is to figure out of all possible stories in the whole universe, which 4 to 6 stories shall we deliver next? The Kanban way is to limit work in progress, or limit WIP, W-I-P. Suppose the team decides that 5 is the optimal number of stories to be worked on simultaneously. They've learned that that's just enough to keep everybody busy without causing overload. So they decide that 5 is their WIP limit. Whenever they finish one story, they'll accept 1 new story, thereby making sure that they never break the limit of 5 ongoing stories. Both of these approaches work fine, in the sense that the team will have just enough work to do and they'll be able to work fast and effectively. A side effect, though, is that there will be a queue forming in front of the team, and that queue in Scrum is called a product backlog. The queue needs to be managed. Suppose stakeholders keep asking for 10 new stories every week, and the teams deliver 4 to 6 stories every week. That means the queue will just keep getting longer and longer, right? So before you know it, you have a 6-month-long wish list in the backlog and growing. That means that on average, every story that the team delivers is something that somebody asked for 6 months ago. How agile is that? So there's really only one way to stop the queue from getting out of control. That word is no. It is the most important word for product owner, and Pat practices it every day in front of the mirror. Saying yes to a new feature request is easy, especially if it only means adding it to an ever-growing backlog. The most important job for product owner is to decide what not to build and take the consequences of that decision. And that's why it's hard, of course. The product owner decides what goes in and what goes out. The product owner also decides the sequencing. What do we build now? What do we build later? And how long does this list actually need to be? That is a hard job. So Pat doesn't do it alone. She does it in collaboration with the team and the stakeholders. To be able to prioritize, the product owner must have some idea of the value of each story, as well as the size. Some stories are critically important, and others are just bonus features. Some stories take just a few hours to build, and others take months. Now, guess what the correlation is between story value and story size? That's right, none. Bigger doesn't mean better. Think of any system that you've used, and I bet you can think of at least one really simple feature that is very important that you use every day. And I bet you can think of at least one huge complicated feature that is totally unimportant. Value and size is what helps Pat prioritize intelligently. Like here, these two stories are roughly the same size, but a different value. So build this one first. And over here, these two have roughly the same value, but different size. So build this one first, and so on. Okay, that sounds enough. At least I have a story. And how does she know the size? Well, here's the bad news. She doesn't. It's a guessing game. And it's a game that everyone is involved in. Pat continuously talks to stakeholders to find out what they value. And she continuously talks to the team to find out what they think is big or small in terms of implementation effort. These are relative guesses, not absolute numbers. I don't know what this apple weighs or that strawberry, but I'm pretty sure that the apple weighs at least 5 times as much and that the strawberry tastes better, to me at least. And that's all Pat needs to know in order to prioritize the backlog. It's pretty cool that way. At the beginning of a new project, our guesses will inevitably suck. But that's okay. The biggest value is really in the conversations rather than in the actual numbers. And every time the team delivers something to real users, we learn something and get better at guessing both value and size. That's why we continuously prioritize and estimate. Trying to get it all right from the beginning is pretty dumb because that's when we know the least. So the feedback loop is our friend. Prioritization is not enough though. In order to deliver early and often, we need to break the stories down into bite-sized pieces, preferably just a few days of work per story. We want this nice funnel shape with small, clear stories at the front and more vague stories at the back. By doing this breakdown in a just-in-time fashion, we can take advantage of our latest insights about the product and user needs. All this stuff I've been talking about, estimating the value and size of stories, prioritizing, splitting, all that is usually called backlog grooming. Pat runs a backlog grooming workshop every Wednesday from 11 to 12. 1 hour per week. The whole team is usually there, and sometimes a few stakeholders as well. The agenda varies a bit, but sometimes it focuses on estimation, sometimes on splitting stories, and sometimes on writing acceptance criteria for a story, etc. So I hope you're noticing the theme here: communication. Product ownership is really all about communication. When I ask experienced product owners what it takes to succeed, they usually emphasize passion and communication. So it's no coincidence that the first principle of the Agile Manifesto is individuals and interactions over processes and tools. So the product owner's job is not to spoon feed the team with stories. That's boring and ineffective. Pat instead makes sure everybody understands the vision, that the team is in direct contact with stakeholders, and that there is a short feedback loop in terms of frequent deliveries to real users. That way, the team learns and can make daily trade-off decisions on their own, so Pat can focus on the big picture. Let's take a look at a few of the trade-offs that need to be made by Pat and the team. First of all, there's a trade-off between different types of value. Early on in a project, uncertainty and risk is our enemy. There's business risk. Are we building the right thing? There's social risk. Can these people build it? And there's technical risk. Will it work on the platform that we want to run it on? Will it scale? And there's cost and schedule risk. Can we finish the product in a reasonable amount of time for a reasonable amount of money? Knowledge can be seen as the opposite of risk. So when uncertainty is high, our focus is knowledge acquisition. We focus on things like user interface prototypes and technical spikes or experiments. Maybe not too exciting for the customers, but still valuable because we are reducing risk. From a customer value perspective, the curve looks like this in the beginning.
Right. Hey, Ankit, can we pause it now?
We gradually focus more and more on customer value. We know what we're going to build and how, so just do it.
Okay, thanks. Okay, guys, I think you would have got an idea of what a product owner really does. So just as a very quick snippet, the product owner is the chief captain of the ship, who is supposed to do value maximization for the list of stakeholders or the sponsor, right? One of the very important questions that I've been asked before is, as a product owner, is it always okay if you know the business, if you've got the business acumen, if you've got the domain knowledge? Are those people only the ones who thrive as a product owner? Now, there is no taking this away that business acumen and the domain knowledge is imperative to succeed as a product owner. But I think one of the factors that is often overlooked is technical skills. Right now, let's say you are in the middle of a sprint, and your Scrum team comes to you and says, "We've got into a particular spike where we have to kind of a research which will not give you the objective of all the story points that you wanted to get done." Now, if you do not know what's a technical spike or what's a technical debt for that matter, it's very difficult to carry out the job of continuously prioritizing the right user stories, right? So I think one of in my humble experience as a product owner, it's very important to know both the domain as well as know a little bit of the technical architecture, be aware about jargons, and there is a lot of impetus these days on learning Python, learning R. Be very data intensive. I think even as a product owner, it's very important to have a data intensive mindset. Okay, so I think you would have understood a little bit about product ownership from that. Sandeep, back to you.
Thank you, Chirantan. I mean, it's very, very helpful, and thanks for giving us the insight about enabling us with the product owner role, and what are the pros and cons, and how people are perceiving that. So now we have seen the product owner role. So Chirantan, is it the same as a product manager or a Scrum Master role? Or what is the difference between product manager and product owner?
Yeah, I think in Agile, and this is also a question that I've been kind of dwindling upon, that do you really need a project manager? So the traditional project manager who was supposed to manage the triple constraints. I don't know if people here are aware about the triple constraints, but essentially scope, time, and cost were the three constraints within which you would have to get your success or the outcome of the project delivered, right? Both the output and the outcome has to be delivered within these three constraints. Now, the advantage with Agile is that you can see value being delivered very fast, right? So, your product owner comes to the sprint demo. They come to the sprint demo and they are able to see what is the output of the done stories. Now, done means stories which have completed the acceptance criteria and they have completed the definition of done. right? So you call it done. Right now, because users are able to see value being delivered early and continuously, the role of an agile project manager is soon dwindling, right? So obviously, you would be called as a project manager, but in effect, more often than not, you will not be focusing on scope, time, and cost. Rather, you would be focusing as a product owner as to how do I maximize value for my team, for my stakeholders, right? Now, another thing quickly, because we do not want to be biased as a product owner, what's the role of a scrum master then? Now, if we do have a product owner, do we really need a scrum master? And I would say yes, absolutely, right? So you do need a scrum master. The most important role of the scrum master is to ensure that the team is following the scrum principles and the best practices, right? And whenever the team is getting out of hand in terms of not following the best practices in scrum, the scrum master pitches in, right? So he or she is a member from the scrum team. So please make sure that you do not think of a scrum master which is a specialized role. Okay, it is not.
Mhm.
In fact, I have seen on many agile projects that I have been, that the scrum master role actually rotates. So it's not the same person doing the scrum master role for releases together, right? So after a few sprints that have taken place, and when these sprints are getting buckled into a different release, the scrum master can be another developer in the team, right? The most important thing is servant leadership, right? So you would hear this in trainings, that who is a servant leader, right? So a scrum master is a servant leader, right? Why do we call that servitude kind of a terminology here? Is because the person works for the team, right? He or she asks those questions in the team meeting, saying, what did you do yesterday? What are we going to do today? Are there any impediments or obstacles coming in our way? And the
Mhm.
scrum master is not supposed to solve questions, right? Earlier, you used to go to a project manager saying that, hey, I've got this problem. Can you solve this for me? This is not the case in traditional or in more contemporary agile practices, right? The scrum master is not supposed to give you a solution. Scrum master is able to direct that question back to the scrum team, and they answer the question themselves. So cross-functional independent teams are the success for the teams.
100%. No, I think very well said, Chirantan, and very happy to hear your perspective on this. So, I mean, now we also know the Scrum Master. You know what the Scrum is, what the Scrum Master is. So, do you think it's the same thing as safety? You know, we are hearing about nowadays. That's a new thing. So, do you think that's the same?
No, I think it's different because there are different scaling models. So there are one which are frameworks. So all of these which are Scrum, Lean, Kanban, Extreme Programming, these are all different ways of carrying out an agile project, right? So which we very
Yeah,
popularly connotate as frameworks, right? Frameworks or methodologies. Now let's
yeah.
say there is a large scale organizational need for us to become agile centric, right? Now, when that happens, you usually adopt a scaling model. Now, there are very various different scaling models in the industry. SAFe is
Mhm,
the most popular one. I'm going to show the State of Agile report, which stated that SAFe is the most important or the most commonly used scaling model. But there are others as well. So there is Spotify, there is Nexus, there is large scale Scrum, there is disciplined Agile, all of those things, right? In
mhm,
my effect, if you have to grow as a great agile leader in the industry, you need to know minimum two frameworks, which is either Scrum or Kanban or Scrum or Crystal, and you
mhm,
also need to know at least one, if not
mhm.
more than one, scaling model. So can we just take a quick look, Ankit? There is a video on Scrum versus SAFe, and this is a very short video, guys, just about 2
Yeah,
minutes. Can we play that as well?
Sure.
yeah. Thanks, Chirantan. I know I only asked this question because there is a buzz in the industry, saying
Yeah.
safe being the good scaling model. So I just
Offers
wanted to
hosting
understand your
that's
perspective
reliable
on it.
and simple to set up. Get 99.9.
In this video, we're talking about Scrum versus.
You'll have to share the screen as well.
Ankit, yeah,
Yeah.
share the screen.
They're doing the same. Yeah.
Thanks for bearing us with, guys.
Safe. First, let's start with Scrum. Scrum is a methodology born from the Agile Manifesto that basically attempts to create a software development lifecycle that works more with real life. In real life, things change, you learn things as you go, and the best results come from everyone participating.
Basically, rather than spending months planning and defining, then months developing, then months testing until you find all the things you didn't anticipate, you instead do a couple of weeks worth of work, learn from it, do a couple more, learn from it until you reach your goal, leading to value delivered faster and a better end product with fewer defects. Long story short, Scrum is a great way for teams to produce high quality software faster and with fewer defects. It solves many of the problems Waterfall did not. The problem is that the waterfall methodology is usually part of a larger company-wide portfolio management cycle, meaning prior to the beginning of the year, all the important people get together and decide how the money is going to be spent on which initiatives. This results in big year-long, multi-year programs, usually comprising of smaller year-long projects. Now we have a problem. We have teams who are moving fast and adapting to change. But then we have big wigs in big companies who've made decisions months ago that we now have to stick to, even though we've learned and things have changed. This is how SAFe was born. SAFe is essentially a way for large organizations to plan in a more agile way. So SAFe isn't actually a competitor to Scrum. In fact, in the SAFe methodology, at a team level, you're still operating with Scrum. It's basically all the management, directors, and executives above the teams that have to learn to be more agile and responsive to change. The short version of SAFe is rather than planning an entire year of activities and sticking to it no matter what, you plan with all the teams for essentially one quarter at a time doing Scrum style activities on a larger scale known as a program increment or PI planning. The nice thing about the scaled agile framework is that it has layers depending on how committed your company as a whole is to be more agile. Basically, a single program or multiple teams working towards the same goal can do essential SAFe. Several programs coming together for one overall new offering or solution can do large solution SAFe. A whole organization can also include agile practices at a portfolio management level known as portfolio SAFe. When you include all the layers from top to bottom, you get full SAFe. So long story short, there is no Scrum versus SAFe. SAFe is really using the principles of Agile at each level of an organization so that every level, not just the teams doing the work, can benefit from delivering value sooner, reducing waste, creating realistic expectations, and the ability to better respond to an ever-changing landscape. To see a more detailed breakdown of the levels of SAFe with real-world examples, check out the video linked in the description where I break down how real organizations like.
Okay, great. So I think perhaps we've been able to demystify that SAFe is just a scaling model, and SAFe is not the same synonymously as Scrum. Just to fast track things, Sandeep, I know that we wanted to speak a little bit about DevOps, but this is material that we can pass on to the team here. Should we start playing a quiz? So, sorry, there's a lot of static coming through. Guys, we have to go on mute, please, if you're not talking. Right. Ankit, is it okay if we can just play a quiz just to see whether there is a lot of interest in agile questions or Scrum and SAFe questions? What is the level of knowledge already with the attending participants here? Just so that we make it more interesting.
Sure. I'll do that. So, everyone, so what I'll do, I'll be just putting one link, okay, in the chat section. Okay, you can just open and can, just reply back with your right options, what you think is the most suitable. Okay, and then we'll understand.
Hello. Yeah, I have one question, Chirantan.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Okay, so as a Scrum Master, so the most of the times we can't able to get a proper data at the time of a retrospective. So retrospective, which is the most valuable ceremonies in the Agile Scrum. Okay, so but most of the times we not get a proper data, and most of the time the team will not bring the data, or else they are never open the mouth. So how can we get the data from the team? Do you have any specific answer for this
Great question. Great question. I'll come back. So I've heard this question, and both myself and Sandeep are going to give you some insights as to how you can improve this. But if we can just hold the fort a little bit, we want to just play this small interesting game of asking some questions, and then we'll come back to that. I know there are other questions that we have to answer as well.
Yeah, please don't forget it, this one.
No, I won't. Don't worry.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so hi everyone. So I have given a link in the chat box, and the same question you can see when you open, and there is the option to select. So you can select, and we can see the statistics, here on the screen. So you have next 30-second more, okay, to reply on this.
Wow, this is a very knowledgeable participant list, I must say.
Yeah.
Looks like. Okay. So you have the answer.
Most of them have got it right.
Most of them have got it right. So it is D, right? So you add it to the non-functional requirements. Very nice. Can we move to the next question? Just to
Yeah,
leave enough
sure.
time for questions towards the end.
Okay, so guys, on the same link, now this question will be up. Are you able to
Yeah, we're
get
able to
this?
see.
Please go ahead. Oh, great. We got 3. Good competition here.
Very close competition.
So I'll count down 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. So should I go to the next question, Chirantan?
Yeah, I think the answer for this one is the second one, isn't it, Sandeep? How much work
The third,
remains till the end of
the third one, Chirantan.
third one? Yeah. How much is known about the product over time? Correct. So I think people know this as well. Wow.
Correct. We have a very intelligent, I think, crowd here.
Yeah. One second. So I'll share the next question.
Yeah. We can do 2 more, I think, and then we can just talk about the curriculum and then take audience questions.
Sure. So there is a different link I've just given right now. Okay. And I'll just present the first question what we have in this. One second. Okay, so I hope my screen is visible now, and so you can see the meter over here.
Yeah.
Okay, so again I'll start counting down. Okay, so 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay.
Yeah,
Done.
this was interesting. I think this is not the continuous delivery pipeline, right? This should
Correct.
be the agile team.
It's the agile team. Yeah, it's a tricky question actually.
One. Yeah, this
From
is a tricky one.
I was also one amongst them.
Should we do one more? Just
Yeah, so
one
this is
last
the
one.
last one I would go ahead with. So guys, on the same link now you can see this question. The second link I have given in the chat. Okay, so I'll count down 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Done. Okay, so Chirantan, if you can help us with the right answer.
I guess dependencies and value.
Dependencies and value. Oh,
Yeah, this was close as well, I think, but
Yeah,
good one. This is also a tricky one, right? So,
yeah,
all right, guys, I think this is really nice. I mean, these are actual questions from the the training curriculum that we have. So I'll just spend 1 minute on the curriculum that Sandeep and myself have designed for Mentors Pool. Right, so I think this is agile training under one roof, right? So we almost call it like a boot camp, where you can undergo a training which gives you the ability to write either the professional scrum master or the professional scrum product owner, right? The other thing is, there's another module on PMI ACP. So these are the frameworks which align to PMI ACP. So you understand in detail what is Scrum, Lean, Kanban, Extreme Programming, etc., and how these are different in terms of framework from one another. And then there is one module which comprises of both of these, right? So one module which comprises of both of these. I think the USP in terms of this training is that industry practitioners like myself and Sandeep are coming in here. We are not theory guys, right? So we have seen this very closely. We are working with Scrum and Agile teams. So we come back and try and impart the learning. So that is definitely one of the USP. And the other important thing is, this is an almost go to market industry kind of interface, right? So I think that's how, Sandeep, you and I would want to position this, right? That
that is
there is a
correct.
big gap. There is a big gap today, in terms of employers' demand and what are employee skills, right? So employers demand that the people whom they want to interview have to come with that particular agile knowledge. But I think what we've seen as gaps is people may have the theoretical understanding, but when they go to the interview, they fail because we don't do case studies with them, right? So there are
Correct.
myriad of institutes who are doing the theoretical study, but the real differentiator is the industry specific case studies, where they actually, when we kind of take them through these 5 or 10 case studies, then they're able to understand and distinguish between the two. And once you know how to ride a bicycle, you don't forget, right? So that's what we try to do. So we make you ride a bicycle.
Yeah, 100%. And just to enable people to see what goes through a stakeholder's mind, how they look at the investment. If they have put up a project together, then they only focus on their return on investment. Their focus is, so you have to understand each and every person involved in that whole process of change, and understand their mindset, their drive, what is driving them in that project. And I think once you've done that with few good case studies, then I think you can crack anybody interview anywhere in the world.
Okay, so with that, maybe we can go with audience questions. I know that we are almost at the end of time, but we want to stay back a little longer. If you guys are okay, I think Ankit, you are also okay with time. Sandeep, if you are okay with time, maybe we can extend by another 10-15 minutes. depending on how many questions that we get. So let's start with the question that was asked by the gentleman. Yeah, Mayank, coming to you. So I'll come to you third. So I think the gentleman asked the question on retrospective, right? So how do you make sure that the question was, if I can paraphrase, that at the time of doing the sprint retrospective, you do not have the data. So how do you make retrospectives more effective? Right? I think as a very important Scrum practice, what happens is retrospective is no rocket science. It is just a lessons learned document, right? What happens is the Scrum team comes together and reflects on three things. What did we do well in this particular sprint, which happened over, let's say, 2 to 3 weeks of development life cycle and testing, etc. The other thing is, what could we have done better, right? And the problem with retrospective is people start getting into a blame game. I've seen this very, very often, right? So people come in, developers come
Correct.
and say, oh no, this BA actually didn't give me the requirement on time, which is why I would want to pass on the blame to that person. The BA would then say, no, I did give you the requirement in time. I think you didn't ask me the relevant questions. So I could not ask, clarify the doubts or the ambiguities that you had. I think one of the very important thing for a retrospective is stay away from blame games. Please, this is a constructive meeting, right? And Garima, this ties back to your question. You are asking what are the best practices of a Scrum Master, right? Now, when this blame game happens, this is when the Scrum Master should intervene and say, "Hey guys, let's kind of cool the temperature a little bit here, and let's kind of focus on what really are the things that we missed. What are the things?" Very objective meeting, right? So you do a very objective meeting. And the other thing is, people are shy of coming to the retrospective meeting. They do not see the importance or the urgency of having those lessons learned exercises, right? And which is why the data is not there, right? So people don't come and they don't want to come and talk about it, right? So it's very important as a Scrum Master. Garima, again, going back to your question, this is the unsaid role of the Scrum Master. That guy or lady should kind of encourage people to go to the retrospective to kind of, in an uninhibited way, talk about things which could have been improved, things that we're doing well. Okay, so I think that would be the answer. Garima, your other question, I think I've answered your question.
Chirantan, yes, Chirantan, I have another question. I just come to the last end of the session. Please make it a reminder.
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. So we'll go back to Garima's question now, in terms of what are the skill sets or the best practices for a Scrum Master. Remember, stick to the Scrum guide. Right now, there is a reason why a Scrum guide is there, right? So it talks about what are the 4 different Scrum roles, what is the Agile Manifesto, what are the different best practices and principles. There are certain 12 principles as well in Agile, right? Now, you have to ensure that the ceremonies and the roles are something that you are diligently following, right? So there is a daily stand up, then there is a sprint review, there is a sprint retrospective. Are you doing that, right? Are you doing that with diligence? If the team is getting derailed, or if the team in a daily stand up is speaking at length about a particular question for minutes together, the Scrum Master is supposed to intervene, saying, "Hey guys, there is a reason why we call it daily stand up. You know why it's daily stand up? Because you're not supposed to sit for 15 minutes. The
Yeah.
long So if you sit down, the moment you sit down, you're comfortable in your armchair, right?
Yeah.
And that's the reason it's called the daily stand up, so that you only talk about the issue and have a very short solution being discussed by the team. Now, what happens is, I have again seen this as a problem, that Scrum Masters who have actually been great developers, they come to the team, they forget that they are playing the role of the Scrum Master, and then they will start giving the solution. Hey, you know what? I think I've got the solution to this. And then it sets a wrong standard, right? It sets a wrong standard amongst the team, that the team always thinks that, oh, it's the Scrum Master who's supposed to give us our questions or the answers, but that's not the case, unfortunately, right? Garima, so I would strongly suggest we stick to the Scrum role, the Scrum ceremonies, follow the Scrum guide to the team. Okay. All right, Mayank, you had a question. You have been patiently waiting on the sidelines.
Yeah. Thanks. Question from chat as well, so we'll take after this. Okay.
Yeah. We will take a few questions from chat as well. Don't worry.
So thanks, Chirantan, for this nice webinar. I know I can always, do a phone call and ask this question to you, but I think I thought for myself and, wider audience.
Yeah.
And I should ask this question. And this question is not on the core subject which we are talking about, but just, picking up one line which you said, people should not become comfortable in one role and kind of challenge themselves, and something like if there is different role which could be providing better opportunities. My question is, when I mean, of course this is not on the core subject which we are talking about, but my question is, when do we I mean, sometimes it becomes very difficult to identify whether a person has become comfortable in that role, and some of the fears which person have, that when, let's say, if someone moves to other organization or other role, I mean, will it be more difficult, or the expectation in terms of working hours or in terms of responsibility will be different, how the team will be. So these kind of question of course comes. What is your view on rightly identifying the comfort zone and then exploring the next organization?
Yeah, I think a great question, Mayank. I think it is pertinent because even while it is not directly related to agile as a subject, but I think it is relevant for most people here in this team, right?
Correct.
One short answer is, even at this old age, I've changed a continent and then joined another organization, right? So even if I can do this at this old age, I'm sure people can do it at their younger ages, right? Now, see, the idea is how do you judge whether you're in the comfort zone? You're in the comfort zone. I will ask you, Mayank, very simple question. Go back and in tranquility, in a very calm mind, take a pen and paper and write down what did you do in the last 3 years in an organization. So year one, what did I do? Did I change my delivery? Have I learned something new in year two? Have I learned something, or am I doing something very different in year three? If you are
Yeah.
doing this, and if a single organization is actually giving you that ability and that flexibility of a role change, so there is no need for changing an organization. So when I said that you have to change the status quo or challenge the status quo, it does not always mean that you change the organization. It's important that you are doing something that is important. Now, second important thing, Mank, that I would say, and then I'll ask Sandeep to add on to this, is the role that you're doing an industry specific role? Is it valuable in the industry, or is it only valuable in the organization? Now, let's say you're part of a consulting organization and you are making PPTs on a daily basis. I'm sorry to say this, but when you do PPTs on a daily basis, possibly you are missing out. There's an opportunity cost of you not working on the actual project, not seeing the data, the actual data at hand.
Correct.
Right? So so maybe the organization is gaining, maybe there is experience that we are gaining as well, but do we want to do that? Is the industry going to welcome that when you go for an interview? So the litmus test here is, think about this. If I go to an interview today externally, am I proud of what I'm doing in the industry? That's all. Sandeep, from your side.
I think, sir, just few points which you can also see, like you can see, okay, if I have to change job role, then what are the job spec advertised? You can read the job spec. If you read like 10 job spec as a BA, if you're working as a BA, you would know what's happening in the industry. Like if you're an insurance BA, to see what they're doing, what are the demands? Am I using those tools? Am I fulfilling those responsibilities on my daily roles? So I think that could be a good like industry comparables, basically a real data. There is no ifs and buts there, but you can see that okay, these things are in demand. Can I do this? Can I grow? Like, or is it in line with where I want to be? Like you are a BA, you want to be a CXO at some point. So you have to take responsibility. You have to go to your manager and say, oh, can I also do this? I see, I can also, want to learn this from you. Do you mind sharing it with me? I mean, those are the few things. Also, like, if you are more, I think, adventurous like me, what I've done is I started playing with startups. I started while I was working in the industry. I started mentoring startups. I went to a startup sector, and I said, okay, I'll mentor you, and I learned so many things. Because you play different, you wear different hats there. Then I started thinking, okay, I've done that for a while. Now, can I actually put my money? Can I, put my money where my mouth is? So I started investing on those startups as well, taking that not a huge amount of money, and I've launched startups from starting from like 10,000 rupees basically, and tested, like created an MVP, got the feedback on board. So by just doing that, you go out of your comfort zone. You see where the industry is going, and you just test the waters really, and it's a fun game as well. It does. So you're doing something new every single day. And I think there could be various ways, but if you're not that adventurous, then maybe the first strategy, just read 10, 20 job roles in your sector and see, can you fulfill those, like if you have to leave your job today.
Okay, answers my question. I just wanted to use this forum to ask this question, nothing else. Thank you very much.
Thank you
No
so much,
problem.
Mang. Thank you, Mang. Okay, we'll take this question next. Vivian, for intending Scrum Master, what are the most important tools to learn first, and which certification is most crucial to take first? So for this, I think we've got a slide. Unfortunately, we didn't have time now. We can look at it. So Ankit, I don't know, or Sandeep, whoever wants to present, can we go to the slide which talks about a comparison of the certificates?
Yeah, I'll just quickly put it up.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
This is a great question, Vivian. Thanks for asking that. So while Sandeep is kind of bringing up that slide, it's important that as a Scrum Master, you know the industry tools. Now, in terms of the tools, see, you have to understand what are the tools which will help you succeed. So one is, as a Scrum Master, you should know what's the Agile project charter, right? So when the Agile project charter was done, what was the product envisioning exercise that was carried out? Now, if the envisioning exercise was carried out, do we have a lean canvas template? If you don't have a lean canvas template, do you have a product vision box? Now, see, please note the term that I'm using. What's the lean canvas? What's the product vision box that we have used? Have we got an elevator pitch template? Do we know what are the product story mapping tools? Do we know how do you do customer journey maps? Do you know how to do customer journey maps? Now, when you come and attend the trainings that we are doing, our entire training is focused on industry specific tools, right? So I'm not saying that ours is the only one. You can kind of do, and you're going to go to compare mentors pool cost with others as well. But I believe this is the biggest thing that we are doing, right? We are kind of making sure that we are not having any hidden cost and all of those things. We are giving back actual industry knowledge and tools back to the participants, right? So that they are industry ready rather than being theoretically ready. You are industry ready to face any kind of interview, right? Now, this is a quick certification comparison. Okay, so you've got PMI ACP. See, PMI ACP requires prerequisite certain hours of project management experience and certain hours in Agile. Now, let's say you are very new to Agile, right? And you want to become a Scrum Master. You cannot do PMI ACP because you need 2,000 hours of experience as Agile, and another 2,500 hours of experience. Sorry, 2,000 hours of project management experience and 1,500 hours working on Agile project planner. Right? And this is a difficult certification, right? So I would have that under my belt. But my recommendation is people who've done project management, who are using Agile, who are practitioners with 6 to 9 years of experience, they should try PMI ACP, not before that, right? Because the exam is a difficult one. You really have to kind of come prepared. You should attend workshops. Please don't do a self-study and go and attend the exam. I would not recommend that. Now, the next one is certifications which start with C and P, right? People get very confused, right? What is a certified Scrum Master? How is it different from a professional Scrum Master? Or what is a certified Scrum product owner? How is it different from a professional Scrum product owner? So this is the chart that you need to look at, right? So any certification which starts with C was formulated originally by a body called Scrum Alliance, right? Now the proponents of Scrum Alliance, or the authors of Scrum Alliance, one of them broke out, right? So Ken Schwaber broke out of Scrum Alliance and started his own body much later, in sometime around 2008-9, which he called Scrum.org. Now, these are two different competing bodies. I wouldn't have a preference for any of them. You can choose either Scrum Alliance certifications or you can choose Scrum.org certifications. I have only gone for Scrum.org certifications. Okay, there is a reason why I have only chosen Scrum.org certifications, because there is an exam which tests your knowledge, and the exam criteria is very difficult to pass, right? I mean, not very difficult to pass, but at least you need to score an 85% or above in these examinations, right? So you really need to know the concept well. See, guys, please don't run after certifications. Certifications is just a stepping stone. It's a ladder, a foot in the door. It will not make you agile ready on the day of the job. If you have to be agile ready on the day of the job, please complement your certification, right, with actual industry knowledge. So please talk to practitioners, attend courses where people are practitioners who are giving away their knowledge. Okay, please don't go to theoretical guys who are imparting an education just by looking at the Scrum guide, right? Now, certified Scrum professional is there, and then you have SAFe. Again, we have talked about SAFe. SAFe is the most important scaling certification. Again, my recommendation is in the early days, please choose as a Scrum Master either a CSM or a PSM. Okay, please do not choose SAFe. SAFe is only for people who are part of organizations where at an organization level, you are having scaling teams, right? There is a concept of an agile release train, which means that many teams who are practicing Scrum, let's say as an example, who are practicing Scrum are in one particular release, and then what they are working towards is a programming increment. But you do not need to do SAFe if you do not know basics of Agile or basics of Scrum. So my recommendation would be first start with CSM or PSM, then go into SAFe or PMI SAP at a later stage.
100%.
All right. Should we go to the next question, Sharath? Role of a Scrum Master in engineering practices. What are the non-value adds that you identified, right from picking the story till delivering? Okay, so let me ask let me answer the second part first. Okay, great question, Sharath. Okay, what are the non-value adds? Now I'll tell you something. There is a technique called value stream mapping. Anyone has done value stream mapping? Anyone who knows? Right. So I think, see, these are this is what you get from a training. Right, you can definitely identify what are the non-value additive things if you do value stream mapping. So my objective would be, even before you write the user story, make sure that you know what is the value that each step is going to take. Now when you write a user story, right from writing the user story to implementation, you break down the user story into tasks. I have seen many times tasks are not needed. That is where you need to do simplicity, the art of maximizing work not done. Is it essential that you have to do that task to complete that user story? That is really, really important, right? So you need to know what is value stream mapping. You need to know what are the things that you essentially have to do. And that's the reason why I love SAFe, right? And Sandeep and me are proponents of SAFe, because it is built on the house of lean, right? So when it looks at inspection, transparency, and adaptability as the three foundational pillars of SAFe, it also talks about maximizing or minimizing waste, minimizing a work in progress, right? So all of these things are important, and that's how you understand this part, right? And there is in an engineering practice, the role of the Scrum Master is exactly the same. Okay, so the domain wise Scrum org or Scrum guides do not make a difference, right? So whichever practice that you come from, the role of the Scrum Master is to uphold the value of Scrum, uphold the best practices and principles of Scrum, so that your team is able to follow Scrum at its best practice level. Yeah, Hubert, we are definitely going to share the slide presentation, and from the slide presentation, a few takeaways. Please definitely read the certification comparison. There are underlying links that we have given. These are all industry specific links. Do your independent study, do your independent cost analysis, do your independent aspect, but please make sure one thing: when you attend a training, attend from a person who is a practitioner. That's all would be our request.
Yeah, Chirantan?
Yeah.
Yeah, hi, Chirantan Sharath here. One more question, like we have so many scaled agile frameworks, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to our implementation in the organization, and how to choose which scale framework is compatible to your organization?
Okay, so great question. Okay, my answer to that is the best part is you don't get to choose. Right, more often than not, the organization the organizational leadership has already gone with a particular scaling model, right? And you just have to follow that. The State of Agile report, the 15th State of Agile 2021 says that these are in the highest popularity ranking order. These are the three scaling models. The first one is SAFe, which is Scaled Agile Framework. The second one is Scrum at Scale. So there is a bit of a difference between Scrum at Scale and Scrum of Scrums. And the
Correct.
third one is less, right? So you have large scale Agile as well, large scale Scrum. Sorry. So these are the three most popular ones, and then there is a close fourth, which is Spotify. And see, the beauty of this educational workshop or training that we are doing today, this webinar, is that you get video on understanding Spotify, which we didn't have the time to play, but we are going to share all this material. We are going to share all this great presentation material to you absolutely free of cost. Just make sure people who have not registered drop in your email addresses and your phone numbers so that we can at least share this material with you.
Okay. So basically what I understood is, we need to be aware of the multiple frameworks, but
Yes.
usually leadership asks us, right, when we are at that point of time, what
Correct.
framework you think is better. As a coach, we need to suggest, or as a scrum master, we need
Yeah.
to suggest them the best framework, and we have to lead it
Yeah.
from the front, right?
Correct. So
So
see, it depends. It depends. So if you at this point of time, if you're doing at a team level, if your organizational leadership wants to get involved, I would say it's go for SAFe. But if your organizational leadership does not believe in scaling teams, and these are political questions that we get into, right? If your organizational leadership has a half belief that will it be a success, will it not be a success, go for the easier ones. Go for Spotify model. Go for large scale Scrum. Don't go for SAFe, because SAFe essentially is only useful when you're doing it at a team level, when you're doing it at a program level, then you're doing it at a portfolio level, right?
gotcha.
And then there is this concept of a tribe, and what is a guild, right? So the Spotify model video that I will share. So you should talk about those concepts, that make a tribe, make a guild. Are we sure that the tribes and guilds will work? If they will work, go for Spotify.
Okay. Yeah.
100%.
Thank you.
You have also, just to add on, you also have to see the again, like whether it's really political thing which you've been asked, or they really want to add some value, and at what level, and just see which one is the best compatible model in that situation, and then you can recommend that. Of course, there's a cost and training involved as well, and the time frame which you have to be taken into mind while kind of advising anything
Obviously.
to the organization.
Yeah. Thanks, Amjit, Chirantan.
You're welcome.
Chirantan, so
Yeah.
my last question.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, please.
Shall I?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. So I have a couple of questions. One is for another one. Okay. So as of now, I'm a Scrum Master. I want to become a product owner. So if I will be more technical, I'm eligible to become a product owner. Is it right?
Okay. No, I wouldn't say that. Okay. Now see, what is the role of a product owner? The role of the product owner essentially is he is the voice of the customer. So he is the person who knows what is the strategic mission and the vision of your product. He's a product owner, right? So let's break it down. He is the champion of maximizing value to your stakeholders and your sponsors when it comes to the product. Now, the most important thing in the product ownership role, and this is where the subject matter expert and the business analyst generally get into a product owner role. Why? I'm not saying that they are the naturally best ones, but you see that the connect between that, right? If you have been a subject matter expert, you know the domain, you possibly know your product well, you possibly know the industry in which you're going to launch the product. Then, because as a product owner, you have to be very flexible, right? So you have to know the industry, you need to know trends in the industry, what your competitor is doing. Just don't focus only on your product. right? I have seen in many cases, we have been building a product, not being aware about the regulators, not being aware about the competitors. The competitors may bring in a product sooner, quicker to market, right? So there is a term called time to market. If the time to market for a competitor is lower, then you do not get into a product ownership value. You do not deliver value at the end of the day, right? So instead of technical, I would rather focus on the business acumen, the domain. But the technical thing is going to help you. Why it is going to help you is you will understand when the team comes to you and says that there is a technical debt. You will come and understand when there is a spike, or when there is a feature toggle. So let's say that they say that sir, there is a feature toggle that we have to switch off, because the feature toggle is not going to give value to one particular region, but it is working in another particular region. Maybe because of a switch, maybe because of the way the API is designed, or because we know all of these things. As a product owner, you will already have half won the battle. Only other thing is to know the domain, have the business acumen. Sandeep, anything you want to add?
No. I think it's you sell it. You said it very rightly, Chirantan, that it's a dish basically, which you have to cook, and you need to know loads of ingredients as you highlighted. You need to know the industry, you need to know the domain, the regulatory, the marketing competitors, and all those governance, all those practices within that. But I think it's easy to transition from a Scrum Master to a product owner as far as you have a drive for it. So how do you grow? Like
exactly.
if I want to, to your profile, you ask the product owner, say, I would like to be a product owner in your sector. What do I need to read? Where do you want me to start? To begin with, because within your domain, like if you're working in insurance domain and he's a product owner in insurance domain, he can give you a list of things to do or to guide, or say, like, I would like to share some responsibility with you. Give me the tasks, like, which you do on day-to-day basis, which I can help you with. So you take additional responsibility. That is another very good way that you get the job done for the product owner, and slowly you start seeing their mindset, why they're giving you this tasks. If they ask you, oh, go and read this new government guideline, why they are asking you to do that? What do they want you to to find out from there? So you start kind of stepping into their shoes and start thinking slowly as a product owner, and that's how slowly you do that transition. It'll be a smooth transition, but you can't just jump straight away from Scrum Master to a product owner role, if that makes sense. So there has to be a plan.
And it's a double-edged sword, isn't it, Sandeep?
Yeah.
So I think it's worth mentioning this. I think Sharat here has some expertise, or maybe he's dabbled in a product owner role. I completely agree with his statement. The most strenuous part of my work life is when I have been a product owner. The reason is that you have to get involved in everything, right from prioritizing the user stories, right from prioritizing the epics. You need to know what are the epics first of all. The epics change. If the market dynamics change, the epics change, and you have to bring in newer epics, right? You have to discuss with your sponsor that, okay, this is the fixed term, right? If we are working towards a fixed time, which one do you want earlier, right? So your market research, your demand, your sales efforts, your regulator. Sometimes the regulator comes in and says the taxonomy for this particular field is changed. If the taxonomy for the particular field is changed, the poor product owner's neck is again on the line, saying that were you not reading the regulation?
Correct.
Right. So that's the reason they get handsomely paid. I'm not saying that I was handsomely paid, okay, but they generally product owners get handsomely paid, okay, but then their neck is on the line as well.
Yeah, 100%. I think you have to be very extrovert and a people person, as well as you need to be in that mindset that you want to develop something cutting edge, and you have to work very agile way. If something changes within overnight, you have to change the epics, as Chirantan said. It could be maybe the features you have to change, or you might have to scrap some I don't know, something which is in production, like it might not be relevant tomorrow, which your team is building. So you have to go straight away and say, stop, what you're doing. This is no more relevant. And then it's just it's the mindset, and you need to know what are the responsibility and how to behave as a product owner, and slowly you can transition. And I think somebody like just not. I mean, you can read about it. However, the advantage of coming to someone like Chirantan and me is we give you all that. We save you all that time and hassle. You reading something in 10 hours, we can teach you in half an hour or 20 minutes, or maybe something which you have learned in 5 years down the line, working as a BA or as a Scrum Master or as a product owner. We could teach it to you in a few weeks' time, enable you with those tools, and prepare you for the market. So you have to see, where you're getting the maximum value.
Yeah.
You got it.
More questions?
Okay. The follow-up question. The follow-up question I have. Yeah. Okay. So one of my close friend, so he's well shined in the domains, but he is not a hands-on experience in the technical implementation and development. And then later he done the PO certification, like product owner certification, and he was placed in the one company, and that is one of the most reputed company. Then later, due to this pandemic, due to the business flow, they are sending out. Okay, so then later he tried to some other organization with the product owner certification, but he can't able to shine as much. Each and every organization, they prefer as a technical background along with the implementation and development activities and all. So based on that only they going to recruit. So as of now, he suffered a lot because even though he done the product owner certification, but he can't able to survey in the market. So what is the reason? So do you have any suggestion for him? I want to convey to him.
Yeah, absolutely. So great question again. Now see, you have to know the market trends. If you open up any job board, wherever you are, whether you're in the US, you're in the UK, in India, you would see that the leading industry for Agile is still IT, right?
Correct.
But let me tell you one thing, which this is a double-edged sword. The leading industry is no longer a major dominant. So 51% of the roles, if I take about the Indian job market, for example, and I was kind of looking at it a couple of days back, just in order to help a friend get some Scrum Masters and product owners. The Indian job market, 51% is IT. The 49% is non-IT. So you need to know what are those other roles where product owners are in demand. So there is finance, there is logistics, there is HR, there is consulting. All of these roles essentially do not require you to have a technical knowledge if you want to become product owner. Now, having said that, you remember when I started off the role of a product owner and that video, I had also mentioned that if you want to become from the good to the great, you really need to know your technical architecture sooner or later. So you need not know it on the first day being a product owner. But if I kind of talk to you about what is an enterprise bus or what is a microservices, you need to understand that, right? Because you might work in a domain, but at the end of the day, it's going to be an application. At the end of the day, it is going to be some kind of a backend which you will need to know, right? So the basics of the system architecture, basics of the IT industry is something that you need to know. You don't need to go and do a programming. Get me correct here. You do not need to be a hands-on programmer, but you definitely need to know what are the challenges with API-based testing. What are the challenges with being an Active Directory? So let's say an Active Directory is being exposed. What is at risk? Now, I'm not a technical person. I'm an accountant, but see, I'm very comfortably able to talk through all these terms. Right? So that's how you have to be. And if I reflect back on my own reflective improvement, I have to improve on technical jargons a lot. Okay.
Yeah, I'm Mahesh here, and this is on the same line. So we were talking about the technical aspects of the product owner. So when it comes to the Scrum Master, so I'm from the non-technical background, no, from not from IT. So this applies to the Scrum Master also, right? So how is the career roadmap for a Scrum Master from a non-technical background?
Yeah. So see, the role for the Scrum Master is, again, he or she upholds the Scrum principles and the Scrum values. Now, let's say you are a Scrum Master. Now, remember, in a project, there is a what and there is a how of a requirement. The what of the requirement is what the product owner essentially focuses on. The how of the requirement is something which the architect, the tech architect, please don't think that the tech architect's role is out of the door. Absolutely not. Right? So that there is a very important role that the tech architect plays in ensuring that in order to meet that what, the how or the design part is something that we have to implement. And what really happens is if you are a product owner who's only coming with business domain understanding and business acumen, you tend to downplay the technical stories. Right? So there are technical stories which automatically take a backseat because maybe you don't understand them. And this is the role of the Scrum Master, right, Mahesh? So you as a Scrum Master should come in and say, coach that product owner. Again, you are not supposed to command. You're a servant leader, remember, right? So you have to come in and coach that, hey, George, I'm just making a name there. That, hey, George, I know that you are a product owner and you're very good in terms of value maximizing, but do you think in some way we are underplaying the technical user stories? And in that, is it going to become a technical debt later on? Or if you don't understand what's a technical debt, if you don't know what are the architecture stories, then you're not a good Scrum Master, right? So in order to understand that concept, you need to know. But yes, Mahesh, if you ask me, do I really need to be a Java programmer? No, I don't need to.
So Chitrant, just want to add few more points here. Scrum Master alone work in a silo, right? He has to work with the development teams at the end of the day.
Correct.
So
Yes.
that is the main intent behind understanding all this, at least a basic technical knowledge, where he can be able to drive, suggest the teams at the end of the day. Yeah.
True. Very nice. Thank you so much for adding that.
Good one.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I think there were a couple of other hands which were raised in the interim. Any more questions that Sandeep and I can take?
Hi, Chirantan. This is Puneet. Hi, Sandeep.
Hi, Puneet.
Yeah, hi. So, I had a very generic question. We were all together for a few sessions earlier, and then, and today I joined this session to get some more insight on how this works. So, myself, I'm a beginner and totally looking for a transition, or probably I would ask, like, I'm looking for a career shift towards the business analysis. So a lot of things are cooking in my mind, and there are times and there were some nightmares, and I thought I'll have some personal mentoring session with Chirantan, and probably have some donation to the charity. Right? Again, I thought maybe this would be the right time. I would just put it up across. So, Chirantan, I just want some light on the ambiguity that I'm having. Like, where and how do I start off? Like, if I want to see myself as a business analyst.
Yeah, I think this is and when I say you are a business analyst, now see, there is a lot of downplay to business analysts of yesterday who were doing only waterfall projects. Now in waterfall projects, so let me do a comparison and contrasting. So in waterfall project,
I think Chirantan, you got my question wrong. I'm still not a BA yet. I'm looking for a career shift as a
want
BA.
to get into. Oh, got it. And have you been doing a developer's role, a tester's role?
No, I have been into the healthcare auditor's role.
Okay. Yeah. So see, Sandeep, you want to take
more
this?
often the healthcare insurance, I would say. Yeah.
You want to take this?
So sorry, you were in healthcare insurance, you said.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So basically, you got double advantage here. A, you know healthcare. B, you know insurance sector. See, to become a good BA, first thing you should have is a good domain knowledge. So you're 50%, you're ready to market. Second thing you need is you just need a crash course or a boot camp type of thing, where you can get familiar with the BA tool, all the keywords, the buzzwords, and how BA conduct and behave on day-to-day basis in a company. And then you need to get your CV tailored, or tailor your CV, with the relevant words, and set yourself up for a lovely interview, and and just prepare for that in a nicer manner. And then you can crack in any of the healthcare company or an insurance company, and they're very well paid BAs, in healthcare and insurance both.
Right,
so you just only have to do 50%, but that has to be done step by step. So we need to know a bit more about you, your background, and see what are your strengths, what is your weaknesses in terms of BA, or helping you to transition as a BA. And then we just fill you in basically with those bits which are needed, and we'll put all the padding around so you don't fail when you're sitting in an interview. We make sure that you crack it, and then that's how you start to begin with. I mean, on the other hand, you could go and you can take some courses, like you can do some this $15 course. There's a website called Udemy, and you can try it yourself,
Right.
and see if you can make it. However, on the other hand, we have this in between me and Chirantan, we got about 36, 37 years of industry experience. And we can give you all the, bullet size training, in like a snack type training, basically, on day-to-day basis. And we make sure people like yourself who are transitioning into BA sector or trying to become a Scrum Master or product owner. So we make sure you guys will not fail, Does
Yes,
it answer
Sandeep.
you?
I exactly, absolutely, Sandeep. Because the only question that keeps ringing again and again is, what exactly is the industry looking for an entry level candidates like me? So, what are their expectations out of me? Is my question. Because though I go through number of job roles, I'm still not able to like comprehend what an industry is looking for. Though an XYZ, I would say some technical terms and more often like agile methodologies and like few terms which Chirantan has mentioned. So apart from that, what exactly? Yeah.
See, I think you have to break it down into chunks. Okay, so Puneet, I mean, from what Sandeep was mentioning, break it down into 4 parts.
Yes.
One is choose the domain in which you want to become a business analyst, right? So understand aspects of the domain. So let's say I'm just taking an example. In investment banking, if you do not know financial products, you will be left out, because when you are doing business analysis, you're trying to understand requirements from your stakeholders and ultimately translating it to meaningful information for your dev team to pick up, right? And for your testers to have the right acceptance criteria in your test cases. Now, whether you write a BRD or whether you write a user story, the essential skill remains the same. That you yourself have to first understand the requirement. So the most important thing is narrow down onto the domain, the experience that you have in terms of the domain. Choose domains which are allied. Okay. Then the second thing is understanding the techniques and applying them. Now I can send you a document with 52 techniques, right? And you yourself have seen in my business analysis class that
Right. Yes.
understanding those 52 techniques and deciding which one to apply where is the important thing. And then stakeholders don't understand it, right? So if you kind of say that, hey, Pat, one thing, your requirement is quite easy. There are underlying causes of failure, so I'm going to use Pareto analysis and I'm going to give you a fishbone diagram. If he likes fish, he may be looking forward to that meal. He may think you're going to actually send him some food. So you have to understand whether your stakeholders even understand what's a fishbone diagram, right? So it's very important that you break it down into 3 or 4 different logical chunks. One is the domain. The second is application of techniques. And the third is understanding the jargons and the software development lifecycle. Right? In the software development cycle, where do we fit in? What is the methodology that is being used? And that's where waterfall and agile come into place. That what is the speed of execution? Do we have a fixed scope, or is the scope going to change? Do I have requirements that are liable to change? If the requirements are liable to change, then you may have to follow an agile methodology rather than waterfall. And that's when jargons come into the view, right? So it's important thing that you have to marry these things up, right? The domain, then the techniques, and then the jargons that are used in the industry. And that's it. That's what they are expecting from a business analyst.
Thank you, Chirantan. This answers like it just actually threw a lot of light on the ambiguity that I was having since quite some days. Well, thank you so much, Sandeep and Chirantan, for answering my question.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
See, the good news is you can do it. If you want to change, you can change. You can come work as a BA. And there's a great demand. I think Chirantan shared this insight with us. I remember that. I think there are about 40,000 plus BA roles in India, And me and Chirantan, day in, day out, we are getting bombarded with, people from the companies asking us to help them to find a good BA for the role they have. So there is a big demand. However, there's a big skill gaps as well, because people who go for these interviews, they are like some certified people from certified institutes. I won't name anybody, but they're certified. However, they cannot do the real job because the certification and reading the theory, it's totally different. When you have to do things hands on, they don't teach you the real thing, what happens on day-to-day basis. And then that is the difference why there is a lot of demand of BAs. And post COVID, everybody's trying to transition and make those changes so that it enables the companies to be able to survive. So they're trying to go more online. There's massive change is happening in the industry. And as a BA, we are the change enablers. We kind of work as a catalyst to derive that change, and make it happen, and add value to the organization as quickly as possible, within limits. And that's where there is a great demand. However, if you have the right skills, then you can mint money. I mean, I think the average salary, as Chirantan said, in India nowadays, because I don't live in India for the last 15 years. I'm based in the UK. So I think what my understanding is, Chirantan can correct me on this. I think the average salary is about 30-40 lakh easy, Chirantan, for a good BA.
Yeah. Absolutely. The industry, in fact, I know people who are earning more than 80 lakhs. And as a business analyst, I can show you actual India salaries of people who are drawing more than 80 lakhs. So that is equivalent to a director salary in India, right? So there are senior leaders who are drawing that kind of package.
Correct. I think the only thing is that you have to be at the right place at the right time with the right skills. So there is a demand now. What happens maybe 1 year, 2 years down the line? So you just have to do dance on the chance you've been given, really. So it's up to you how quickly you take that opportunity.
Right, and as Chirantan answered earlier, we should always be open for challenges across different prospects, because because when you have that capability and that ability to attain that skill set, if one door is closed, definitely you can look after another door if you have that knowledge. Yeah, so that is something we should all be looking for. Right.
See, you already learned Agile.
Indeed.
You're already doing, but we're already leaving what's not working, and you're trying for a new sort of solution to your issues. And that is what the Agile mindset is, all about.
Right, Sandeep. Initially, I never had anybody who could, and especially these days, there are a lot of people who are aspiring for a career shift, but there's a lot of knowledge gap for them, who are not able to understand how they can be ready for an industry, right?
Yeah.
So at the same time, recently when I was there in the sessions with Chirantan, I have got to learn so many things and got to know okay, fine, this is how the industry is these days, and a lot of valuable insights that I've acquired, and that was really great actually. And every now and then I used to look after whenever there are sessions with Chirantan or probably you, I should definitely join them.
No, thank you very much.
Indeed, but because at this point of time, for people like us, we need the right grooming. There are so many XYZ organizations just for the sake of mending money. They would do it, but the right person would create that need for getting that insight is what I would feel. and that is what I've seen in Chirantan and you yourself, right? Because immense knowledge, industry knowledge, and the way how you try to like I mean I would say share the knowledge and build up that rapport is like excellent, I would say.
Thank you so much. We try to be have very holistic view on everything, and we believe sharing more is our motto. Whatever we know, whatever we practice on our daily lives, we only just say those things. We do not follow the book by its like cover to cover. Really,
Correct.
we only just talk about things which we have personally experienced and seen them working over and over, and only those are the things will be helpful to you. And I think that's what we are trying to do here. And thank you so much for your lovely feedback.
Indeed, Sandeep, great initiative. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Chirantan.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Puneet. Any other last questions? I know we are quite grossly over time. I think we are 49 minutes over time, but this definitely shows that there is interest, right? It definitely shows that there is interest. Definitely shows that I think whatever we wanted to come to you with, that has definitely been accepted well, right? So we'll be very happy to share these slides with you. But if there are no further questions, then I think we can end the session here. Just taking a pause for 2 minutes if there are any other questions, any other hands being raised. Otherwise, we can kind of, I think, conclude the session.
So one question here on the so I'm this is my first meeting. I just got the link and I joined. So I just want to understand. See, what is that? This group is for what is that I can gain being a participant of this group? Is this meeting regularly happening on Saturdays, or what is the outcome that I can see from this group?
Yeah, so I think what we wanted to do is just increase awareness about agile business analysis, agile in particular, because there is a lot of impetus and there is a lot of demand for agile knowledge as such. And myself and Sandeep, who are industry practitioners in agile for years together, wanted to come back and give back to the community in terms of what is the basic knowledge. So what is a product owner, who is a Scrum Master, what are the different levels of certification that we have, and then we are going to share these slides as well. But the idea is we are also here. I think Mentors Pool. I think Ankit is also here to talk about the industry unique bootcamp that we have. Right. So there is something which is very very unique feature about the training. Right, and that the uniqueness of the training is that you get industry practitioners to come and give you a crash course for 16 hours on Scrum, which enables one person to become a professional Scrum Master or a professional Scrum product owner, and all with industry tools, right? So this is not a theoretical presentation that we come and impart. And there is a batch which is starting on 27th November. Ankit, sorry, I think you wanted to take this, but because this question came up now, I wanted to kind of also, let you guys know that there is something that we are starting on 27th November, which is a kind of a boot camp, which will talk about Scrum. It will talk about Agile frameworks as well. And these are all different modules, right? So if you have already known Scrum, you do not need to come and do the Scrum meeting if you want. So you can directly go into Agile, certified practitioner. If you are already an Agile certified practitioner, maybe you can come and join the Scrum session. Or maybe for beginners, I would say people who are uninitiated, who want to make their foot in the door in terms of business analysis. A lot part of it has to do with Agile, right? So if you do not know the Agile techniques, you do not know the Agile roles, the ceremonies, you would not be able to perform in an interview, right? So the basic motto is do this, training, or give this opportunity for people to take advantage of this training, which we call as an industry training. We do not call it as a certification only, right? We want to go a step further, right? We just don't end at being, you do not end at being a PSPO, or you do not end being a PSM. You actually end doing mock sessions with us to help we kind of groom you on how to prepare a CV. Then you're industry ready, right? So that's the basic objective, so that people can come in and make a mark for themselves.
Okay.
Sandeep, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, and
No, I think you said it rightly, Chirantan. It's a hands-on course. It's a boot camp, and it will showcase what is needed on day-to-day basis while you practicing as an agile master or agile, person, or maybe as a business analyst, or maybe as a product owner, or maybe as a product manager or project manager. So if you are interested in anything, we can help you with. We'll be very happy to answer any of your questions, or you might even have at later stage. We'll share these slides as well along with, I think, in Mentorpool will do. So kindly give us your emails, your phone numbers, so that can be emailed to your email. And then even if later on you have any questions, you have any queries, you got our details. You can get in touch with us. We'd be more than happy.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Sandeep. Thank you. Sure.
Okay, no problem, guys. I think that's where we end the session for today. If no further questions, hopefully this was useful. Hopefully you didn't get bored. And definitely, if you want to kind of get some material back, please ensure that you've registered with Mentors Pool. If you have not registered, before we end the session, can you please put in your email address and your contact number so that Mentors Pool Ankit can get back to you with the material for today's class, and you get some valuable insight from the industry. All right. So with that, we will take your kind leave, Sandeep and I. We will keep this session on, Ankit. Maybe you can keep the session going for some time if someone wants to put in their email addresses and coordinates for further getting in touch. But otherwise, thank you all for attending. I know this has been quite late in India, in Singapore as well, very, very late. But thank you for joining all across from India, from UK, from Abu Dhabi, from US and Canada. Thank you guys for making it.
Yes, thank you so much. No, you're welcome, Chirantan. Thanks to you and Mentorpool for putting the session together, and everybody to join us to give us a chance to present our knowledge and share our insights about this industry. And we'll be looking forward to see you guys in the future as well. Thank you once again, and enjoy your day and have a good weekend. Take care. Bye.
If you haven't already, please follow our Instagram channel by clicking on the channel icon on the top.